Hey everyone, I am working on olives today. So if you look out the window here, there are my olive trees in the background there. You can't really see them. Sorry, they're blurry because of the screen. But the olives were really late this year. They just ripened maybe 4 or 5 days ago. Usually they ripen closer to when the apples and pears do in October, late October, early November. So the process of making olives is really arduous, really difficult. And this is why the price of good olives, not those creepy ones that most people hate, and it's their only experience with olives, and then they form this idea that they're disgusted by olives like the ones they put on cheap pizzas that come out of a can that have a soft, slimy texture and no taste. Those are not olives. Those are chemically created olives. And I don't mean they make the olives from the chemicals, but they rush the process of preserving them with chemicals, and they come out with this horrific version of an olive. Now, when you pick an olive from an olive tree, believe it or not, they taste like poison. They taste horrific. And you just wonder things like this. How did humans thousands of years ago figure out what you had to do? Because it's not easy to get these things edible. And these are the things about that really blow me away about the intelligence of humans, especially ancient humans. So the process, this is just the beginning of the process for making olives. You start with clean buckets. You need, depending on how many olives you have, I figure I do about go up about 3/4 of the way in a 5-gallon bucket, and then you have to fill the water up to just about 5 or 6 inches under the top. But each of these olives have to be hand sliced or hand smashed. I like to slice them because when you smash them, it kind of messes up the texture and makes them mushy, and I like a nice solid olive. Another thing you notice is, some of these olives were really ripe and some of them were still greenish. Doesn't matter, just takes on different flavors and textures, which is really exciting. But these all came from the same tree, except for these little tiny calamari. So after you get a really sharp knife, I literally have to have my knife sharpener with me because there's so much oil in olives that about every 12th to 20th olive that you slice, a few places, depending how soft they are, you have to re-clean really well and resharpen your knife because it gets all gunked up, and then it's not easy to get through the olives without pressing too hard on them. So I worked for hours and hours and hours, and I got about I want to say about 4 gallons of olives sliced. Now the reason these look so beautiful is that these olives have already been sliced and soaked in water for about 20, these ones have been for about 48 hours already. And what you have to do to get the bitter flavor out of the olives, this is the batch I just finished over here, and I've got the tin foil, the lid on the top of them. When you're done slicing the olives, then you have to put them in plenty of water. And then this water has to be changed twice a day. It's a big pain in the butt because there's so many olives in here and it's kind of heavy. You have to have big strainers and rinse it thoroughly, and not just once a day, but once in the morning and then once in the evening to get this, the bitter juice that is coming out of the olives. Because what we're doing, we're basically, for lack of better words, clarifying the flavor of the olives. And this process of rinsing the olives twice a day is going to continue for a minimum of 2 weeks. Yes, 2 weeks I'm committing to. And then after that, you go into the brining process. And for me, the brining process that I used was salty water then, and then just rinsing them once every 3 days. So I leave them in the salty water and rinse them every 2 to 3 days. And I continue that for another 2 weeks. Then I taste them. And if they're not bitter, then they're put into jars. So you wash your jars thoroughly, and you have to figure out your flavor. What do you want to taste these babies up with? I wanted to use stuff from the property, so I went really traditional. I went with a big slice of lemon and garlic, of course. I just smashed the cloves and tossed them in the bottom. Some of my mixed Italian herb from the organic herbs on the property. And then I have a secret ingredient that spices them up a little bit, gives them a little bit of fire. Then you add your brine, which is already pre-mixed, your salty water, after you stuff your olives in there. And it's a process. You have to make sure the olives are, really fitting in well. There's no air pockets. And then you fill up your brine water. And then I just top the very top of it, the jar, with some olive oil to add kind of like a seal, like an oil seal. And then I close those babies up. And then you have to wait another couple weeks, up to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, most people say, for those olives to start taking on the flavor of the brine. Now, that is how I did it 3 years ago. And I made a couple cases of olives, and they were outstanding. And I'm not just saying this because I made them myself and it was so much work. I'm saying this because I took them to some Italian people that run a bakery in the town, next town over from us. And I'm not talking about American Italians. I'm talking about actual first generation Italian immigrants with the accent and everything. Their bakery's off the chart. If you're ever in Santa Cruz, California, or Felton, California, you want to find that Italian bakery that's right on the 9. It's amazing. I'll put a link in the box because it's a different level. Anyways, so I take the family spices and different things that I make, and they're always like super, super stoked because the way I do things here on the property is the old-fashioned way. It's the ancient way. It's the traditional way, and they can taste the quality. And you don't get a lot of that here in America. There's a real disconnect to what food's actually supposed to taste like. So when I took them the olives, they handed them to the sister, and the sister, her eyes basically rolled back in her head like she was having an oral orgasm. And she gasped. She got really quiet. And then she looked at me very seriously and she said, "I'm going to tell you something right now that no Italian tells anybody." And I said, "Yeah?" She said, "These olives are as good as my grandmother's." And then she said, "Wait a minute. No. Actually, these olives are better than my grandmother's, and I'm going to call her tonight on the phone and harass her about this fact." So, yeah, I guess my olives were pretty good if they exceeded European standards. And again, a lot of stuff I do is completely intuitive. I drive my college-educated / gourmet-educated friends crazy because I kind of do things, I just do things intuitively when I cook and when I can. I hold different spices up to my nose over whatever I'm cooking. If it smells right together, it usually tastes right together. And my sense of smell isn't super great, nor is my sense of taste because of my Lyme disease. It robbed me of a percentage of my ability to smell, especially. And so when I create food, when I can or cook or whatever I do, in general, I over flavor things just so I can taste them. But that over flavoring does not mean over sugar or over salt. It means over flavor. And this is a very attractive and seductive to people that have never had such generously flavored food. So, okay, that's where I'm at with my olives this year. Of course, every year, everybody wants to help and learn how to make olives. But every year, just like with canning everything, when it comes time to do the work, everyone's busy. So this is why these art forms are lost to time. And this is why, sadly, because I don't have children, unless I put together some type of recipe book, which is nearly impossible, because everybody who had the incredible experience of growing up with someone in their family, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a great-grandmother who actually knew how to cook the old way, knows that it's never done exactly the same way every time. And there's just some things that can't be translated into ingredients and words and simple directions. You have to be there in the kitchen with the master, learning how to do it next to them. And it's very sad to me that a lot of what I have learned to create and has become a tradition for me to make every year is that knowledge is just going to be lost to time, because there's no one around who really cares enough genuinely for me to pass the knowledge on to. And yeah, that is what it is, right? Hopefully in the future I'll have a robot to learn. Kidding. I'll have my AI child, my AI who will absorb my personality and all of my knowledge, and then I will be able to continue on as a form, an animated form of life for eternity. Interesting. From olives to sci-fi. Okay, well, you guys have a great day. I'm getting back to work because I'm on the final stretch of cutting up these last couple gallons of olives. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other, because I believe how we treat each other in the streets is our actual reality. And happy holidays. Thank you for subscribing this year. And thank you for tolerating my inconsistencies. But, you know, that's just my life. I do a lot of different things. I enjoy diversity. Bye.